The vast expanse of space had always beckoned to humanity, a siren call of endless possibilities and untold wonders. But on that fateful day in 2157, as the research vessel Curiosity drifted through the Kuiper Belt, no one aboard could have imagined just how quickly those possibilities would become reality. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the ship's lead xenobiologist, was the first to notice the anomaly. A blip on the long-range sensors, too regular to be space debris, too fast to be a comet. As she called the rest of the crew to the bridge, a mix of excitement and trepidation filled the air. "What do you think it is, Elena?" Captain Jared Chen asked, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. Elena shook her head, her dark curls bouncing with the movement. "I'm not sure, but whatever it is, it's not natural, and it's heading straight for us." As the minutes ticked by, the object grew larger on their screens. Its sleek, silver form defied any known human design, its surface adorned with pulsing blue lights that seemed to dance across the hull. "My God," whispered Dr. Akira Tanaka, the ship's physicist. "It's a ship. An alien ship." The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Humanity had long debated the existence of extraterrestrial life, but now, faced with irrefutable proof, the crew of the Curiosity found themselves at a loss for words. The alien vessel, easily 10 times the size of the Curiosity, slowed its approach. For a tense moment, the two ships hung in space, separated by mere kilometers, each waiting for the other to make a move. Then, without warning, a beam of shimmering light enveloped the Curiosity. Panic gripped the crew as they felt a strange sensation, as if reality itself was bending around them. When the light faded, they found themselves in a vast, gleaming chamber, their ship nestled on a platform designed to cradle vessels of various shapes and sizes. As the crew cautiously exited their ship, they were met by tall, slender beings with iridescent skin and large, almond-shaped eyes. One of them stepped forward, raising a hand in what seemed to be a gesture of peace. "Greetings, humans," the being said, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "We are the Zephyrians, and we welcome you to the Galactic Confederation." In the days that followed, the crew of the Curiosity found themselves acting as impromptu ambassadors for all of humanity. They learned of the Confederation, a loose alliance of spacefaring races that spanned a significant portion of the Milky Way. The Zephyrians, it turned out, had been observing Earth for centuries, waiting for the right moment to make contact. As Elena pored over data about various alien species, marveling at the diversity of life in the galaxy, she couldn't help but feel a sense of both excitement and unease. "We're so far behind," she murmured to Captain Chen as they prepared for another meeting with the Zephyrian Council. Chen nodded, his expression thoughtful. "True, but look how far we've come on our own. Imagine what we could achieve now, with access to all this knowledge." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Zalforan, their Zephyrian liaison. The alien's skin shimmered with hues of blue and green, a sign Elena had learned indicated curiosity. "Your people continue to fascinate us," Zalforan said, its mental voice tinged with amusement. "We have been observing the transmissions from your world since news of our existence was relayed. The reactions are diverse." Elena couldn't help but chuckle. "I can imagine. Everything from celebration to panic, right?" Zolforan's skin rippled in what they had come to recognize as laughter. "Indeed, but it is your adaptability that truly impresses. Already, your world's leaders are organizing, preparing for integration into the wider galactic community." As they made their way to the council chambers, Elena marveled at the advanced technology surrounding them. Holographic displays flickered with information in dozens of alien languages, while anti-gravity platforms ferried beings of all shapes and sizes effortlessly through the station. The council chamber itself was a grand amphitheater, with representatives from hundreds of worlds seated in concentric circles. At the center stood a raised platform where the Curiosity's crew now found themselves, facing the assembled might of the Galactic Confederation. A being of pure energy, its form barely contained within a translucent shell, floated forward. "Welcome humans," it said, its voice resonating through the chamber. "I am High Counselor Xandari. We have much to discuss regarding your species' place in the Confederation." As the High Counselor spoke of trade agreements, technology exchanges, and the laws governing interstellar relations, Elena found her mind wandering. She thought of Earth, of the billions of humans going about their lives, blissfully unaware of how drastically their world was about to change. But it was Captain Chen's words that truly captured the moment. Stepping forward, he addressed the council with a mixture of humility and pride. "Esteemed members of the Confederation," he began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "We come before you not as conquerors or supplicants, but as explorers and learners. Humanity has long dreamed of this moment, of knowing we are not alone in the universe. We may be newcomers to your galactic community, but we bring with us a spirit of curiosity, innovation, and determination that has seen us through countless challenges on our home world." As Chen spoke, Elena noticed a shift in the atmosphere of the chamber. The initial skepticism and amusement on many alien faces gave way to interest, and in some cases, respect. "We don't pretend to be the most advanced or powerful species," Chen continued, "but we are eager to learn, to contribute, and to grow alongside you all. The stars have always called to us, pushing us to explore, to understand, to reach beyond our limits. Now that we stand among you, we hope to turn that drive towards the betterment of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy." As Chen's speech concluded, a ripple of what could only be described as applause, expressed through various alien methods, swept through the chamber. High Counselor Xandari's energy form pulsed with what seemed to be approval. "Well spoken, Captain Chen," the High Counselor said. "Your words reflect the very principles upon which the Confederation was founded. While there will undoubtedly be challenges ahead as your species integrates into the galactic community, I believe I speak for many when I say we look forward to seeing what humanity will contribute to our shared future." As the formal proceedings concluded and the crew of the Curiosity found themselves surrounded by curious alien diplomats, Elena felt a surge of pride and excitement. They stood on the brink of a new era for humanity, one filled with unimaginable opportunities and, undoubtedly, great challenges. Looking out at the sea of alien faces, some welcoming, others wary, Elena knew that humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but also dangers they had yet to comprehend. As she exchanged glances with her crewmates, she saw in their eyes the same mix of determination and awe that she felt. Whatever lay ahead, humanity would face it with the same spirit that had brought them to this moment, with curiosity, creativity, and an unwavering will to survive and thrive. The cosmic dance had begun, and humanity was ready to take its first steps on the galactic stage. The Galactic Council's halls buzzed with energy, as representatives from species all over the Milky Way gathered in a grand chamber that defied the very laws of physics known to humankind. The air shimmered with the sounds of different languages, many beyond the comprehension of the human delegation, but a translation matrix hovered nearby, converting the alien sounds into Earth languages. Standing among these vastly different species, the human representatives were both awed and unnerved. Their first few steps into the larger galactic stage had been hesitant, but now they stood at the center of it, their every move scrutinized by beings far older, more advanced, and in some cases, far more dangerous than they could imagine. At the head of the human delegation was Commander Ethan Cole, a seasoned military strategist who had seen more conflicts than most in his career. With him stood Dr. Elara Monroe, a brilliant linguist and cultural analyst who had been key in the initial interactions with the Aurari. Alongside them, several other diplomats and scientific experts waited, each with their own expertise, yet the weight of the moment fell squarely on Cole and Monroe's shoulders. The Council had called this meeting to address the growing tensions between humanity and the Cracks, a highly territorial reptilian species. The incident at Zeta 5 had sparked outrage among several factions within the Council. Some saw humanity's presence on the mining colony as a violation of ancient navigation rights, while others, including the Cracks, viewed the humans as an ambitious upstart species encroaching on territory that was never theirs to begin with. Monroe took a breath and spoke softly to Cole. "This isn't just about Zeta 5. They're testing us, testing to see if humanity will bend or break under the weight of galactic politics." Cole nodded. "We can't afford to show weakness. Not here. Not now." The council chamber dimmed as the discussion began. A towering hologram appeared in the center of the room, displaying the star system where Zeta 5 was located. The Cracks representative, a massive, scaled creature with slit pupil eyes and elongated limbs, stepped forward. His voice slithered through the air, translated by the Matrix into a grating tone. "Humans have no right to Zeta 5. The system belongs to the Cracks, as it has for millennia. Their mining operations are an invasion, a violation of our sacred rights." The words hung heavy in the air. The murmurs of agreement echoed from other council members. Several species nodded their heads, their expressions unreadable to the human delegation, but the message was clear. Many of the galaxy's older civilizations viewed humanity's expansion with suspicion. Cole stepped forward, his posture firm. His voice was calm but carried a tone of resolve. "We respect the history and claims of the Cracks, but Zeta 5 was unclaimed when our mining operations began. We have worked under the assumption that the resources found there were free for any species to develop. Humanity has no desire for conflict, but we will defend our people and our interests." A pause followed his words, the tension thick in the chamber. The Cracks representative's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, another voice cut through the tension, a soft yet commanding tone from a representative of the Alfani, a race known for their neutrality and wisdom. "Humanity is new to the Council, and we must give them the opportunity to learn the complexities of our galactic laws. While the Cracks' claim to Zeta 5 is legitimate in historical context, this incident represents a failure of communication, not an act of aggression." The Alfani's interjection shifted the mood. Other council members began to weigh in, some expressing empathy for the human situation, others doubling down on the need for caution in allowing a new species like humanity to grow unchecked. It was clear that opinions were divided, and it was up to the human delegation to sway them. Dr. Monroe took this as her moment. She stepped forward, her presence calm but confident. "We come here not as conquerors, but as explorers, just as many of your civilizations once were. Humanity's history is one of curiosity, of a drive to learn and to better ourselves. Zeta 5 was not meant to be a point of contention, but a place where we could gather resources to fuel our technological advancements and, in turn, contribute to this council and its vast knowledge. If there is a misunderstanding, we are willing to resolve it peacefully. However, we will not stand idly by and allow our colonies to be threatened." Her words hung in the air, resonating with the ideals of curiosity and collaboration that many in the council respected. The Alfani nodded in approval, while several others seemed to reconsider their positions. Yet, the tension from the Cracks representative was palpable. "The Cracks do not negotiate with invaders," the reptilian hissed. "We demand the withdrawal of all human forces from Zeta 5 immediately, or there will be consequences." Cole felt the weight of the threat. He knew that yielding to such demands would set a dangerous precedent for humanity. He had to play this delicately, balancing the need for peace with the necessity of protecting Earth's interests. "The human colonies on Zeta 5 are not just strategic assets," he replied. "They are home to thousands of people. We cannot simply abandon them to face the unknown. However, we are open to discussions on resource-sharing agreements. We can establish a neutral zone where both Cracks and human mining operations can coexist peacefully." The council chamber buzzed with discussion. The offer was a lifeline, a way to de-escalate the situation without either side losing face. The Alfani representative, ever the mediator, stepped forward once again. "I believe this is a reasonable solution. The galaxy has enough conflicts without adding more. Humanity has shown willingness to find common ground. I suggest a formal proposal of resource sharing between the cracks and the humans, overseen by a neutral party. The cracks representative remained silent for a long moment, his gaze fixed on the human delegation. Finally, with a sharp exhale, he spoke. We will consider this arrangement, but make no mistake, this is your only chance. Fail to honor it, and the cracks will take action. With that, the cracks delegation turned and left the chamber. The tension in the room seemed to ease slightly, though the air remained thick with uncertainty. Cole and Monroe exchanged glances, knowing that while they had averted an immediate crisis, the road ahead was fraught with challenges. As the session ended, the human delegation made their way back to their ship. The stars beyond the station's window gleamed, a reminder of the vast unknown they had now fully stepped into. We may have won today, Monroe said quietly, but the galaxy is watching. We can't afford any mistakes. Cole nodded. We'll keep moving forward. That's what humanity does best. And with that, they set their course, knowing that humanity's future among the stars had only just begun. The silence in the human delegation's vessel was suffocating as Commander Ethan Cole, Dr. Elara Monroe, and their team sat in the briefing room. The holographic star chart of Zeta 5 glowed softly in the dim light, its neutral colors belying the intensity of the situation. The cracks had not explicitly agreed to peace, and the threat they had left hanging over humanity's head was far too heavy to ignore. Cole leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on the chart, as if willing it to provide some solution that hadn't yet presented itself. They're not going to let this go, he said, his voice carrying the weight of his years of military experience. We've fought ourselves time, but it's just that, time. The cracks will come for Zeta 5, and we need to be ready. Monroe, sitting across from him, tapped her fingers lightly against the edge of the table. Her analytical mind was racing, sifting through centuries of human history for a precedent, a strategy that could work in this new galactic theater. We need more than just defense plans, she said quietly. We need allies. The Council may have agreed to our proposal, but it's clear they don't trust us. They see us as a wild card. If the cracks come for Zeta 5 and we fight back, who will stand with us? Her question hung in the air. Humanity was still new to the galactic scene, and while they had made some impression, they were still outsiders. To many of the older species, humanity's rapid expansion into space was an unpredictable variable. A species too primitive, too young, yet too ambitious. And in the face of a powerful and aggressive race like the cracks, alliances would be crucial. Before Cole could respond, the door to the room slid open, and Lieutenant Sophia Reyes, the communications officer, stepped in. She saluted smartly. Commander, we've just received a transmission from the cracks. It's a direct message. Cole and Monroe exchanged glances, both feeling the weight of what was coming. Let's hear it, Cole said, his voice calm but firm. Reyes tapped a control on the panel next to her, and the room's main screen flickered to life. The harsh, angular features of the cracks representative filled the display, his cold eyes glaring at the humans. Humans, the cracks hissed, your offer of resource sharing has been rejected by our council. Zeta 5 is cracks territory, and you will leave it at once. You have 10 of your Earth days to withdraw all human presence from the system. Failure to comply will be seen as an act of war. The transmission cut out as abruptly as it had begun. The room was left in stunned silence. They didn't even consider the proposal, Monroe muttered, shaking her head. This was never about negotiation. Cole stood, his hands resting on the edge of the table as he looked over the faces of his team. This is it then. They want Zeta 5, and they're not going to stop until we're either out of the way or destroyed. We need to prepare for the worst. Monroe frowned, her mind already turning to the question of how to navigate the politics of the situation. If we fight them directly, we risk alienating other members of the Council. They'll see us as the aggressors, even if the cracks started this. We need a strategy that protects Zeta 5 without drawing the full ire of the Council. Cole nodded. Agreed. We can't afford to provoke a full-scale war with the entire galaxy. But if the cracks come at us, we need to be ready. He turned to Lieutenant Reyes. Get me General Carson on the military channel. I want all available resources at Zeta 5 within the next 48 hours. Defensive positions, planetary shields, everything. We're not abandoning that colony. Yes, sir, Reyes responded crisply, leaving the room to carry out his orders. Monroe's eyes were fixed on the star chart, her mind racing through the possibilities. We need more than just a military presence, she said after a moment. We need to send a message to the rest of the galaxy. Something that shows we're not just another species to be pushed around, but also that we're not here to start wars. Cole crossed his arms, studying her. And how do you propose we do that? Monroe leaned forward, her gaze intense. We send out a scientific expedition, something bold, something groundbreaking. We show the Council that humanity isn't just another warlike species. We're explorers, innovators. We push boundaries. If we can make a scientific discovery or achieve something that benefits the entire galaxy, we'll earn respect. And if we do it at Zeta 5, even better. Cole considered her words carefully. It was a risky move, but Monroe was right. Humanity needed more than just a show of force to survive in this new galactic order. They needed to prove their worth in a way that transcended mere survival. They needed to show that humanity could contribute to the galaxy, not just take from it. What kind of expedition are you thinking? He asked. Monroe smiled slightly, the kind of smile she got when a bold idea was forming in her mind. Zeta 5's moon has unexplored mineral deposits, potentially rich in rare elements we haven't even catalogued yet. If we could establish a research base there, maybe even make a breakthrough in energy or materials science, it could change everything. The Council wouldn't dare back the cracks if we were on the verge of a major discovery that could benefit everyone. Cole raised an eyebrow. That's a tall order. Monroe shrugged. We've done more with less. He couldn't argue with that. Humanity's history was full of improbable victories, of achievements that had been deemed impossible right up until the moment they were accomplished. He nodded. All right, let's make it happen, but we'll need to move fast. The cracks won't wait. In the following days, the human fleet at Zeta 5 began to swell with reinforcements. Ships carrying troops, supplies, and state-of-the-art defense systems arrived in the system, their crews working around the clock to prepare for the looming threat of a cracks invasion. At the same time, Monroe's proposed scientific expedition was assembled with equal urgency. Some of humanity's brightest minds were gathered, transported to Zeta 5's moon under the protection of the fleet. As the days passed, tension continued to build. The 10-day ultimatum from the cracks was nearing its end, and still there had been no word from the Galactic Council. The humans stood alone, and yet there was a quiet determination among them. On the 8th day, Monroe stood in the newly established research base on the surface of Zeta 5's moon, watching as a team of scientists drilled into the rocky terrain, searching for the rare elements that could potentially tip the balance in humanity's favor. She turned to one of the lead scientists, a grizzled veteran named Dr. Adrian Price. Any luck? Price grunted, wiping sweat from his brow. It's slow going, but we're getting closer. If the preliminary readings are right, we're sitting on one of the richest deposits of subatomic energy elements ever discovered. If we can harness this, well, it's a game changer. Monroe nodded. Let's just hope we have time. As she spoke, a warning alarm echoed through the base. The cracks fleet had been detected on long-range sensors, heading straight for Zeta 5. The final confrontation was about to begin. The tension in the command center of the human fleet, stationed above Zeta 5, was palpable. Commander Evan Cole stood at the center of the room, surrounded by holographic displays, tactical charts, and the controlled chaos of officers working tirelessly at their stations. Every movement, every beep of the consoles, felt like a countdown to the inevitable clash with the cracks. So, we've confirmed the cracks fleet is on direct course to Zeta 5, reported Lieutenant Sophia Reyes, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. ETA. 6 hours. Cole's jaw tightened. How many ships? Race glanced at her screen, then back at him. 57, sir. Their largest warships are leading the formation. The room fell silent for a moment. 57 ships. Humanity had amassed a formidable fleet, but they were still outnumbered. The Cracks, a species known for their brutal and efficient military tactics, had brought their full force to bear, and the Galactic Council had yet to intervene. Send a fleet-wide alert, Cole ordered. All ships to battle stations. Begin evacuation protocols for non-essential personnel on Zeta 5 and its moon. We're not going to let them catch us off guard. The officers moved swiftly, the hum of activity intensifying as orders were relayed across the fleet. Cole turned to Dr. Elara Monroe, who had joined him in the command center after overseeing the scientific mission on Zeta 5's moon. "How's the research team?" he asked. "They've made progress," Monroe replied, her expression focused but tense. "The deposits we found on the moon are more than we expected, far richer in rare elements than we'd hoped. If we had more time, we could." "We don't have time," Cole cut in gently but firmly. "The Cracks won't wait. We need to focus on surviving this battle first. Then we can talk about discoveries." Monroe nodded, understanding the reality of the situation. Still, the potential breakthroughs her team was on the verge of could change humanity's standing in the galaxy forever, if they lived to see it. "Commander," came a voice from the communications station. "We're receiving a transmission from the Cracks fleet." Cole exchanged a glance with Monroe. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the familiar, cold visage of the Cracks representative. His eyes were narrowed, his sharp features displaying contempt as he addressed the humans. "Humans," the Cracks leader hissed, "your 10 days are up. Our forces will take Zeta 5, and your presence here will be erased. We have no interest in negotiations. Your resistance will be crushed." Cole stood tall, his voice calm but steely. "Zeta 5 is a human colony. We won't abandon it, and we won't let you take it by force." The Cracks leader's mouth twisted into something resembling a smile, cruel and mocking. "You are a young species, full of arrogance. We will teach you the consequences of defying us. Prepare for your extinction." With that, the transmission ended abruptly, leaving the humans staring at the now blank screen. "They're not bluffing," Monroe muttered, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. "No, they're not," Cole agreed grimly. He turned to the tactical officer. "Prepare our defense grid. We need to hold them off long enough to protect Zeta 5. Get all available ships into position." As the fleet moved into its defensive formation, Monroe found herself at Cole's side once more. "This isn't just a military attack, Ethan. This is about showing the galaxy that humanity can't be pushed around. If we lose here, we lose more than Zeta 5. We lose our credibility as a species capable of standing on its own." Cole nodded. "I know. That's why we can't afford to lose." As the Cracks fleet drew closer, the human ships locked into their final positions, creating a protective barrier around Zeta 5. The colony itself was bustling with activity as civilians were shuttled to secure bunkers, while military personnel fortified defensive positions. In orbit, the silence before battle felt suffocating. Then, without warning, the first Cracks warships dropped out of FTL, their sleek, menacing forms blotting out the stars. Pulses of red energy streaked from their hulls, and the space around Zeta 5 erupted into chaos. All ships engaged the Cracks. Cole's command echoed through the fleet. The human fleet responded in kind. Railguns fired in unison, their devastating projectiles slamming into the enemy's ships. Missiles launched from frigates and destroyers, detonating in bright flashes against Cracks' shields. The battle was fierce and immediate, each side hurling everything they had at the other. Monroe stood at a secondary console, monitoring the battle with a grim expression. "Their shields are more advanced than we expected," she said aloud, noting the Cracks' ability to absorb the initial human onslaught. "We expected that," Cole replied, eyes fixed on the tactical readouts. Focus on overwhelming their weaker points. Their engines and rear shields are vulnerable. Target those areas. As the battle raged, it became clear that the cracks were relentless, pushing forward despite heavy losses. Human ships were being hit hard, but the fleet fought with a tenacity and ingenuity that the cracks hadn't anticipated. Small, agile human ships zipped through the larger cracks vessels, exploiting weaknesses and delivering devastating blows. Still, it wasn't enough to stop the massive cracks warships from pressing towards Zeta 5. "They're breaking through our lines," Monroe said, her voice filled with concern. "We need to do something fast, or they'll reach the planet." Cole's mind raced. The cracks fleet was too large, too powerful to stop through brute force alone. They needed an edge, a wild card. Then it hit him. "Monroe," he said, turning to her, "what about the research on the moon? The energy deposits, could we weaponize them?" Monroe's eyes widened in realization. "It's risky," she replied, "but if we could overload the deposits, we might be able to create a controlled detonation. It could generate an EMP strong enough to knock out the cracks ship's systems, at least temporarily." Cole didn't hesitate. "Do it." Monroe quickly relayed the plan to the research team on Zeta 5's moon, giving them instructions to initiate the overload sequence. It was a desperate gamble, but if it worked, it could turn the tide of the battle. Minutes later, the human fleet continued to struggle against the cracks' advance. But as the cracks warships closed in on the planet, a sudden, blinding pulse of energy erupted from the moon's surface. The EMP wave rippled through space, hitting the cracks fleet like a sledgehammer. Their shields flickered and died, their ship's systems going dark as the powerful surge of energy overloaded their circuits. For a brief, crucial moment, the cracks warships were completely disabled. "Now's our chance," Cole shouted. "All ships focus fire on the cracks. Take them out while they're vulnerable." The human fleet sprang into action, launching a ferocious assault on the now-disabled cracks ships. Missiles and railgun fire tore through the enemy vessels, ripping them apart as the humans capitalized on their brief advantage. Within minutes, the cracks fleet was decimated. Their largest warships lay in ruins, floating lifelessly in the void of space. As the last cracks ship was destroyed, a stunned silence fell over the command center. The humans had won. Monroe exhaled deeply, her shoulders slumping with exhaustion. "We did it," she whispered, almost in disbelief. Cole nodded, though his expression remained grim. "We've won the battle, but the cracks will be back, and they won't make the same mistake twice." Monroe glanced at him, understanding the weight of his words. "Then we need to be ready for them." Cole stared out at the wreckage of the cracks fleet, the fires of victory flickering against the cold backdrop of space. Humanity had survived, but their fight was far from over.